Okay, the moment we've all been waiting for. Today, we're going to take a peek at the Conservative Party Manifesto. These are the cast iron guarantees from them to us, the people, that they will not fuck up specifically from July 4th onwards. Please note, I will not cover every single thing in this manifesto, because if I did, I would be in danger of becoming a boring little city sausage. If you want a complete and thorough understanding of what exactly is in the full manifesto, I recommend you actually read the manifesto. This video is specifically for people that have an interest in politics but aren't complete virgins, and with that in mind, let's get cracking because we've all got shit to do. The economy. 1. They want to cut national insurance by a further 2%, with a future goal of abolishing national insurance entirely. 2. They want to give working parents 30 hours a week of free childcare from 9 months old until they start school. The kids, not the parents, obviously. 3. They want to abolish stamp duty for first-time buyers when buying a property worth up to £425,000. 4. They want to effectively cut tax for pensioners by ensuring that their tax-free allowance always rises with inflation or 2.5%. These things are all obviously good things. It's easy to roll your eyes at the blatant ball-sucking of pensioners, but they do need help as much as anyone else. The problem I see is that they're pointing a lot of their help towards people on middle and higher incomes. Dropping national insurance is nice, but make no mistake, they are throwing you the crumbs because there is a general election. This is nothing compared to the tax cuts they've already given the richest amongst us, which, to be clear, is them. Climate change. There's really not a lot to go off here because, if you don't already know, the Conservatives aren't exactly convinced as a party that climate change is all that big of an issue. Still, let's have a look. 1. They would strip water company bosses of their bonuses if their company commits, quote, a serious criminal breach. I presume regular old criminal breaches are fair game, though, and they really haven't done anything at all about the current shit dumping, so take from that what you will. 2. They want to cut red tape that prevents the planting of trees in the planning system. 3. They want to continue with the Blue Belt program's goal of protecting the sea. Honestly, this section is just really underwhelming. When the Lib Dems are trying to build half a dozen brand new entire garden cities, Rishi and his pals are committing to planting trees in certain places they identify as maybe being able to have one if people don't kick up too much of a stink. I think it's fair to say that the Conservatives are committed to maintaining the environment insofar as it would keep farmers and those in rural areas on their side. Healthcare. Okay, let me plant a flag here so we can all see it. Regardless of what we're about to cover, you would have to have a single-digit IQ to actually believe anything the Conservative Party say about any pledges towards healthcare. They have been the party that has systematically dismantled the NHS, along with practically every other public service. With that in mind, and I'm not biased at all, here are their plans for healthcare. 1. They want to increase the NHS spending above inflation each year. 2. They pledge to deliver 92,000 more nurses and 28,000 more doctors compared to 2023. 3. They're sticking with Boris I'm a Massive Johnson's pledge of building 40 new hospitals by 2030. That sounds exciting until you realise that by new they mean new or refurbished, and by hospitals they mean maybe not full hospitals, perhaps just buildings within currently running hospitals. They provide no clarification to make me believe that they are actually going to build 40 brand new hospitals. 4. They want to unlock 2.5 million more NHS dental appointments by providing a payment to dentists every time an NHS patient is treated. Now, I might just be being a thick bastard, but I think that means they'll be providing that payment to private practices, and I can't find any information on whether or not that will be deducted from the patient's bill or what. I'd presume not, otherwise they'd have shouted about it. But if anyone could clarify in the comments, I'll pin it, so go and check that out because I'm a complete dumbass. As I said before, you should be taking absolutely none of this seriously at all anyway. Boris Johnson pledged to build 40 new hospitals in 2019, and after watering down that pledge to basically nothing at all, they still are yet to build anything at all. Only 10 of the 40 have even gone through to receiving planning permission. The funding for the NHS has been cut to bare bones, so any pledge to keep spending above inflation is the absolute bare minimum in maintaining the current NHS. But we don't want to maintain it, we need to drag it back up to standard. Now, there's a lot more in there about improving mental health support and stuff, but I imagine the best mental health support we can get from Rishi is for him to just fuck off. Defence. 1. Reintroducing national service. The Conservatives have pledged to send 18-year-olds off to get a year of national service under their belt. Not only will that thrill the young people that are forced, but also apparently not forced to do it, but the exhausted and overworked public sector workers and soldiers that will need to nanny them. 2. They want to increase the military budget to 2.5% of GDP by 2030. We're currently at about 2.3%. 3. They want to introduce a veterans bill that would give employers tax breaks if they hire veterans. 4. They want to provide £3 billion in support each year to Ukraine until 2030. I mean, the obvious problem here is national service. It's certainly not my cup of tea at the best of times, but when the Conservatives frame it as though it's the duty of a young person to dedicate their time in service to their country, it reeks of bullshit. My question is, if all this is in service to our country and to help people come together from all walks of life, why not open it to people from all walks of life? Why not say if you've never worked in public service or the military, then you must complete a year's national service? Why would age matter at all? Why not open it to pensioners? If you're just going to be working in the NHS processing paperwork and scanning documents, why couldn't pensioners do the same thing? They've repeatedly told interviewers that there would be no criminal punishments for refusing, but they would have to introduce some form of sanction, otherwise nobody would complete it. So what will they do? Give you a fine? Surely that's just giving rich kids a pass to get out of it. So much for bringing people together from all walks of life is more like forcing kids together from all walks of council estates. Also, how would they get paid? Would they get paid at all? Surely minimum wage would be very expensive. It's an utterly transparent attempt to appease boomers that can't possibly understand that the current state of the country isn't the fault of the young, it's the fault of the old. I mean, at this point, I'd vote for any party that pledged to strap Rishi to a Chally 2 and joyride him around Kabul. Education. 1. They will ban the use of mobile phones during the school day. 2. They would give a golden handshake of £30,000 over 5 years to new teachers in high-priority fields like STEM. 3. They would legislate to ensure that parents could see exactly what their children are being taught in school and that all materials must be shared. They say that this is especially the case for sex education, which kind of undermines the word must they used earlier, but hey-ho. Also, gender identity must not be taught to children. 4. They want to create 100,000 extra apprenticeships by 2029. Now, aside from the whole gender thing being inspired from the weird conservative ghost story that there are kids being taught 72 genders, these are decent goals. They've committed to supporting private schooling and maintaining their VAT-free status, which I don't agree should be a thing. They've also said that they will be rebuilding or refurbishing any school that has been built using rack concrete, which is the cause of why schools are literally crumbling apart and are no longer safe. Housing. 1. As I said earlier, they plan to abolish stamp duty for first-time buyers when buying a home worth up to $425,000. 2. They're pledging to build 1.6 million new homes by the end of the next parliament that they definitely won't be elected for. This number might seem quite arbitrary until you realise that Labour have pledged to build 1.5 million. 3. They have committed to protecting the green belt and are targeting house building on what is known as brownfield land, which is land that is, essentially, polluted. Lovely. 4. They will pass a renters' reform bill that will abolish Section 21 or no-fault evictions. It'll also give landlords more powers to evict private tenants engaging in antisocial behaviour. The pledge to build 1.6 million homes is obviously a nice number and also complete bullshit. I only mention that because the Conservatives have failed to meet every single housing target they've committed to in the last 14 years. The renters' reform sounds like a nice, fair thing to introduce, and it is, which is why pretty much every other party is also committing to that same standard or better. The long and short of it is that if you want a house or you want fair rent, you'll do better with any other party. Immigration. Oh boy, here we go. 1. Rwanda, baby. That's right, if you've always wanted to see the UK completely disregard the High Court's assessment that a country is unsafe so we can ship off desperate families fleeing literal genocides to a country that has itself murdered asylum seekers en masse for protesting because they were starving, you'll be chuffed with this one. The Conservative Party is committing that they will definitely, absolutely, probably get at least one single person sent to Rwanda before the end of the next government. They've decided to market this in their manifesto by saying that they will establish a deterrent, despite record numbers of illegal immigration since it was passed. 2. They will crack down on organised immigration crime by doing what they're already doing, which is working brilliantly. 3. They will bring in a legally binding annual cap on migration. Let's be honest, the Conservatives are spewing a complete pile of cock when it comes to immigration. The only impressive thing about them is that they managed to walk the line between getting a terrible return on the taxpayer's investment while also managing to do it purely out of spite and hatred of immigrants. They are truly the worst of both worlds. They have made everyone stupider for having listened to their plans in the first place, and may God have mercy on Satan for having to put up with them when they croak. Special sauce. Okay, so we're on to the special stuff that might influence your decision making that I might not have covered so far. This will probably be a lot more underwhelming than the previous or future manifesto reviews, not because I hate the current Conservative Party, which I absolutely do, but because they are fresh out of fucks to give. There really isn't anything revolutionary or exciting in the manifesto, but let's give it the old college try anyway. 1. They want to recruit 8,000 more full-time, fully warranted police officers, as well as rolling out hotspot policing to reduce the amount of antisocial behaviour in town centres. 2. They want to prevent ULEZ expansions and allow local referendums on whether 20-mile-an-hour speed limits are introduced in their area. 3. They will cancel the second phase of HS2 and use that to invest £36 billion in local roads, rails and buses. Okay, so what's my feeling on this? Well, it's a manifesto coming from a party on the back foot in the polls, so they knew they needed to put their best and least appallingly racist foot forward. With that being said, it's a depressingly bad read. It caters so heavily to a specific brand of pensioners, not just pensioners that want to make sure they can survive, but pensioners that want to protect as much of their assets and money as possible, while punishing young people that want to devalue their home by simply building more of them. It's written for people that are unconvinced by the argument for increased immigration while the economy is flat, while also being thoroughly convinced that kids are being taught in schools that they can and will grow up to be gay trans round-earthers because a Facebook meme from PragerU said so. Even if you think there are a few good ideas in here, Rishi is balancing the bill on things like tax cuts by clamping down on tax avoidance, which they claim would raise £6 billion a year. If that really is the case, and I have no reason to think that it's wrong, then why in the sweet fuck have they not done anything until now? The answer, if you're wondering, is that they are funded and voted for by the people that want to avoid tax. God forbid you smoke a joint, but if you want to save a few grand in taxes, then fill your boots, boys, because we all know you can't be a criminal if you're wearing a shirt and tie. Don't forget the video of Rishi in Royal Tunbridge Wells talking about how he's worked so hard to undo Labour's funding of deprived urban areas to funnel the money into wealthy garden cities and towns in and around London. Don't forget Suella Braverman, RIP, telling us that it is her dream to see migrants deported to a country that has been the home of a genocide in my lifetime. Don't forget the damage done to our NHS by the now Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt. Don't forget the entitlement and poor decision-making of David Cameron, the Prime Minister that began the age of austerity and triggered Brexit, who is now our Foreign Secretary and member of the House of Lords for life. These people have shown us time and time again over the last 15 years that they should not be trusted to run a bath, never mind a fucking country. Even livestock are showing an aversion to Tories in this election, and they're getting so desperate that they've rolled out the corpse of Boris Johnson to try and convince people to vote for them instead of Reform UK. Anyway, that's me for now. Let me know what you think of this manifesto and this party in the comments, and look forward to tomorrow, where we'll be covering the Labour manifesto. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do like and subscribe, it really helps. As always, a big shout out to my adept and attractive supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so from just £1 a month. The link is in the description. Love you. Bye bye.